Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In order to truly come alive, we need to be in line with the properties of existence. If we look at existence, it is dynamic. It is always on the move. There is not a moment of arrest in the motion entailed within this world. Our bodies are constantly moving. We are not the same people in our bodily sense in two consecutive moments. This then signifies to us that the inner being, the ideal state for the inner being, is to be in a state of fluidity, in a state of motion. It should not be stagnated. The Blessed Prophet has said that a person whose 2 days are equal has been cheated. And that makes sense, because 24 hours have elapsed of an opportunity to bring about growth, wholesomeness, deepening of the soul, emergence of the light of God. But those 24 hours have gone without attainment of that purpose. The Blessed Prophet further said that a person whose today is worse than his yesterday is a person who is cursed. Now, curse, obviously, the way we interpret it, means to be distanced from the mercy of God. Mercy of God provides growth, provides greater light. So if the light is dimmed, then that is a motion away from God. It's becoming distant from God and regression. So the ideal state of the human soul ought to be in line with the property of existence in which we abide at present. Since we are embodied people, this gives us an insight into how the soul ought to be whilst attaining its purpose within the domain and the folds of the bodily. What causes us to stagnate from within is our love for permanence. Now that could be because the realm from which we are coming may not have any change in there. And therefore, there are recollections deep within us of not wanting to change. But what we fail to understand is that in this worldly life of ours, change is the absolute norm. How do we stagnate within a changing world? Through the want of permanence. We want a fixed state of comfort, health, wealth, popularity, family, control. But the world does not understand any of that. Health is changed into sickness, wealth into poverty, life into death, popularity into humility. When all of these reverse things happen, what do? We feel a sense of anguish. We feel a sense of loss, sense of hurt, pain. So we are stuck in a past state of comfort and we are not moving with it. Whereas the ideal state would be, we have experienced control and security. Now let us experience lack of control, so that we are not enslaved to a false sense of control, but we can give ourselves over to the one who controls everything and not be in a state of bondage to false security, but embrace danger and become freer people. Who is a free person? A person who fears death and as a result becomes subjugated to all forms of indignities, or Hussein ibn Ali, who gives his chest to the arrows and says, I'm a free man. Who is the one who is really alive and living? We need to understand that the author of this world and the universe at large knows what he's doing. Now for the faithful, it shouldn't even be a question that we need to have control. For the faithful, it should be easy. Well, we believe in God. He knows the best destiny. He has destined what is the best for us. Now, if that is the case, then leave it to Him. Why are you so stuck in wanting that state of control and comfort. If He has brought to you poverty, it is in order for you to gain vital experiences and lessons in poverty. If He were to keep you in wealth, then He has enslaved you with wealth, false wealth. But if He can free you from the bondage of wealth by bringing you to poverty, then see that as the greatest opportunity of liberation. Flow, become fluid. Embrace experiences, learn from them and grow and go forward. Do not yearn for any one of them. Of course, that does not mean not wanting to change our state for the better. It only means don't be so attached to it from within yourselves that you yearn it to the extent of you becoming dissatisfied with what you have at present. So the whole idea in fluidity is for us to embrace the destiny of God, knowing that it's the best destiny and there is something beneficial for me to gain through it. So as victory brings satisfaction and growth, then so does defeat. Now the amazing thing is that God says in the Quran to the early Muslim community who had become very complacent. They thought that now that they are Muslims, they will never be defeated in battle. They got defeated in Uhud. The verse says, victory is sometimes yours, sometimes somebody else's. Those days are God's days that He rotates. If victory brings the best out in you, then victory is success. If defeat brings the best out in you, then defeat is success. If victory makes you stifled and arrogant from within, then victory is failure. If defeat stifles you, then defeat is failure. Understand things differently. We need to understand in this world of ours that the familial relations that we have, father, mother, children, they are all beautiful relationships for us to understand something much deeper within us. But they do not have the value that we give to them in our conventional way of thinking. Look at the way Imam Hussein understood it so beautifully. I mean, of course, I'd paraphrase and extrapolate. And in one part of his dua, he says, I know now that every opportunity that you created in this world for me was an opportunity for me to gain a deeper insight about your relationship with me. That was the real thing. The familial brother did not mean as much as what that experience was supposed to teach me about my relationship with you and how I should become fulfilled from within. Or how beautifully the Blessed Prophet expressed his sentiments. And of course, again, I paraphrase and extrapolate that when his child died, he said, you belong to God, and by priority, God has taken you away. As painful as it may be for me, I shall not complain. What he tried to say was, I own this experience of pain, of knowing what it feels like to love and to lose. And through that, to understand the deeper meaning of that love and where it really belongs. And of course, the Quran says that on that day there will be no familial ties, just to enforce upon our mind that they were actually extraneous. They were integral only to the bodily level, but not essential to the level of the soul. So if we can arrive in a state of fluidity and just flow with experiences and embrace every experience, then every experience becomes beautiful and adds to the deepening of our soul. In that state, as our masters explain, life and death should make no difference. He has given life to experience what that means. He is giving death now to experience what that means. Wealth and poverty stand at an equal pedestal. There were experiences waiting to be gained in a state of wealth, of how to be charitable, of how to not be totally attached with wealth, to not to be made by wealth. Through poverty, it has given an experience of how to lose control and rely on a greater control of God. In poverty, how to be dignified and not turn to others. In health, there was one type of an experience that the soul was supposed to gain. In sickness, the soul is supposed to know it's the body that is withering away, not I. I am deepening through this experience. So the state of fluidity allows us to embrace beautiful experiences and not to be attached to any one of them. Instead, to grow through these wonderful experiences. In fact, on the day of Qiyamah, maybe those who have gone through hardships in this world will understand that they themselves chose these experiences for themselves and will thank God for those experiences, because it will be like somebody entering into a virtual reality for only an hour. But whilst they were in that virtual reality, they were made to forget that this is virtual reality. And as soon as the goggles were off, they realized, oh, yes, it was only an hour's experience. And I was in a virtual reality, and said, thank God I experienced that. I could have never learned the lessons that I have learned or gained the experiences that I've gained otherwise. Or a pilot in a virtual reality through simulation would yearn to have a route on course the worst storm, so that he can test his skills out, or she can test her skills out of how to maneuver that craft and to land it safely. They will say that was the best experience I've ever had. It shows me my mettle and what I was made of. And now having that experience, now I don't have any more fear. To see life as groups of experiences that are coming upon the body, it is not us. Don't associate with them, don't relate to them, don't yearn for them. Learn the beautiful lessons and emerge through them. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let us reflect on the state of fluidity, where we experience the world wholesomely and not be attached to any aspect of it.